And this is probably the scariest of them all because as AI becomes more and more expansive in our everyday lives, and I don't think you can put that genie back in the bottle. If one, artificial intelligence server is talking to another one and they're passing information at whether it's true or not, can really do a massive amount of harm. Because I would assume the hackers don't even need to be
right.
They can be bots, right? AI could be the hacker.
That's true. The hackers could be programming the bots to do exponentially numbers of multitude of the attacks that they don't have to do.
I mean, where does this end?
Yeah, it doesn't.
I mean, where does all this come to an end? Welcome back to Safety Matters. This is Russ Kendzior, and I am joined again today by Adam Blue.
Hey.
Well, welcome back, Adam.
Yeah, thank you.
We're going to be talking a lot about your area of expertise, and that's cybersecurity. Probably would be helpful to tell the audience a little bit about yourself, and you are a cybersecurity expert. Is that correct?
That is correct. I kind of fell into it just being in IT in general. I think just the world, the industry, everything's just kind of moving towards security. A lot of companies are needing that nowadays because there's a lot going on when it comes to security attacks. So there's going to be a lot to talk about here.
Well, let's get the show on the road. First of all, cybersecurity is an important element of our society. Everybody wants to know, what does cyber mean? And cyber is simply a word that means internet. I mean, is that pretty much it? I mean, and so when you hear about, I heard a commercial today for like cyber surgery, and I thought, internet surgery? I mean, so cyber
data, cyber data, and I guess data because it's, I guess everything is data driven now. Where we had things that were like paper, physical. Now everything is data.
Everything's data driven. Yeah. So when we hear the word cyber, it just means the internet, right?
Yeah.
I mean, so security on the internet is, I can imagine that's a pretty big problem.
Yeah.
Lock up your computer. Wouldn't it be nice if it was just that simple?
I know.
Just put a lock on your data. Mm-hmm. But you have told me that we probably already all have been hacked.
That's correct.
A lot of financial institutions have been hacked. Personal data is leaked. Most organizations, this was really surprising. Most organizations don't even know they've been hacked until months later. I mean,
right.
what's kind of fill me in on that. What does that mean?
Yeah, it's interesting. So sometimes attackers, or what the industry calls like bad actors, will see if they can find a way into any system. Once they're in, sometimes they'll just sit and wait to see what is their detection and response like. Or if maybe they can laterally move within the environment to maybe get admin access to kind of see their operations to then know when to attack.
So when you say bad actors, you mean hackers?
Yeah.
Or is that a term is that so 90s?
It's 90s, but it still makes
hackers.
Sense. Yeah.
I mean, what is a hacker?
Yeah, it's really someone that knows how to manipulate, connecting to different servers, getting into different systems that usually have some layer of security, like a password or some sort of encryption, and they're just able to get around it. So.
You also talked about people that inadvertently give personal information to someone that seemed trustworthy, and that your passwords are probably already on the dark web.
That's correct.
So why don't you kind of defang that snake?
No, that's pretty interesting because it could be from spam calls or a text message you get, or simply an email of someone either within an organization or outside saying, hey, can you wire me this? Or, hey, can you click on this link and see if you can fill this out? Or it could be a text saying, hey, AT&T needs you to update your profile information. Click here and sign in. And they're, given their password, and that gives access.
And it's a scary world that
we
live in, man. I mean, there's a lot of bad actors out there that are trying to do a lot of harm to us. And going through kind of some of the news stories, because this is cyber safety news.
Yeah.
I mean, is that what we're really talking about here?
Yeah.
But, you look at what's going on. BBC News reported that U.S. companies hit by colossal cyber attack. This was in just a few weeks ago, July. 200 U.S. businesses have been hit by colossal ransomware attack, according to a cybersecurity firm. So why don't we start out, and I know we're going to get into the weeds here fast, but what is cyber ransomware?
So with ransomware, the idea is that a bad actor will get into an environment and sort of hold the data captive, pretty much like a ransom, and saying, we'll give you this data back if you pay this amount.
Now, when you say the data, I mean, do they get into like the server?
That's correct.
So if I have a website, well, we all have websites.
Yeah.
So if I have a website, they hack into the website. Somehow they get control over when you say the data, they get the code of my website, or maybe it's just a data file, meaning I have a
it
big,
could be an important data file.
Yeah, I'm like an accounting firm has all this data that they store on the cloud or somewhere, and so they basically hack into that, and they get access to, or not access, they just steal all my stuff, and they don't destroy it. They just have they block me from accessing it, and so then hold it for ransom.
Exactly, because it could be that data is not important or couldn't be used for the attacker to get money, but they know it's important to the organization, so they can use them to get the money.
All right, so it's all about extortion.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
And so when we look at what's going on in the world around us, and we hear a lot of these stories. In fact, just recently, CNN put out a news story talking about millions of Americans' personal data has been exposed in global hack. And again, this is all recent stuff. I mean, you don't have to go real far in the news cycle to find these types of cybersecurity breaches that kind of take place, every day.
Exactly.
But I guess we'll talk about this in a minute.
Yeah.
The real world data breaches just seem to be endless.
That's right, and it's been going on for a while too, and that's why earlier we were saying you've already been hacked, your data is probably already out there. This has happened, for years now, decades, where an attacker will get into a system, get maybe the entire address book or phone number list of everyone that's part of that organization, sell it on the dark web. That's another way they would make the money. So then it will be out there. Other companies and organizations will buy that data. Maybe that's why you're getting spammed email or spam calls all the time, because they're just trying to cast that wide net to see what they can catch.
Well, it scares most people. In fact, data breaches, according to the news, are on the rise. Again, been that way for years. And this trend is just not going away. There's been these massive data breaches, thefts, I guess as they're called, costing U.S. businesses millions of dollars in damages. In fact, just recently, T-Mobile had a data breach last year that cost the company $350 million. This is just last year, 2022. And that's just in customer payouts. That puts more onus on every business to secure their networks and ensure that staff have strong passwords and train employees to, spot the telltale signs of phishing campaigns. And so you hear a lot about phishing. What's phishing?
Yeah, phishing is a way to get, you're like fishing for information from someone, whereas maybe the means of hacking digitally is not working. So then you use the other means. Maybe you have enough information on someone where you can kind of use that to trick a system in order to give you the rest of the information needed, like a password reset. Maybe like, oh, well, what like an answer to a question,
right?
Like what city were you born in? What's your first pet? Things like that. So you can kind of use that, or attackers can use that as a method actually to get in, not really relying on brute forcing, using technology to get in, but just using people that aren't aware, may not be trained.
So this is pretty complex stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, I would assume most companies have IT departments, folks like yourself that work on preventing these folks from hacking, phishing, whatever you want to call it, cyber breaches.
Yeah.
Again, just recently, Tech.company, Tech.co, data breaches headlines. Data breaches that have happened in 2022 and 2023 so far. Get a load of this. We're going to go through some of the list. Apple, Meta, Twitter. They're big tech companies. I mean, these are companies that's their business, right? They're in the data business.
Yeah.
And we're seeing that they're getting hacked, and big companies and tracking all these data breaches is a business in and of itself. January of this year, Chick-fil-A data breach. The food chain's investigating suspicious activity linked to a select number of customer accounts. The company's published information on what customers should do if they notice suspicious activity on their accounts. Now, the one thing that's kind of weird is what's going on. I mean, when they say customer accounts at Chick-fil-A, I mean, people like credit cards?
Yeah, it could be that. Or I wonder if maybe due to like catering or something, there's certain companies that might actually have some sort of like, business account with Chick-fil-A when they're doing some ordering. But then that's just a risk in itself because they will have then their data on Chick-fil-A server. That's like another way to get through, which might not seem obvious. But, Chick-fil-A would have customer data?
So how does somebody get into Chick-fil-A server? They have to have some way to even know that it exists. So how do they know where the server is, number one? Then how do they get into it once they find it?
Sometimes you can just use domains and kind of search that on the internet to see what domains may be owned by an entity or not. And once you find out where the domain is sitting, then it's a matter of trying to crack the code. How do you get, you'll be prompted with an admin username and password. How do you get in? And it could be as simple as going on the dark web, finding some credentials that match and using that.
All right, we got to be, what's this dark web stuff? I hear a lot about the dark web. I mean, is that like www.darkweb.com? I mean, what is the dark web?
The dark web is an area of the internet that is insecure. It's not really used by big organizations or typically any company that has hosting any of their data online just because of the breaches that could happen. You would usually access this with a browser like Tor, T-O-R. The thing is you put yourself at risk accessing these because they're on servers that could be hacked or they have illegal information on there. And so it could be untraced.
This is a whole industry.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like
a black
industry.
market if you think of it in a physical way. Like underground black market. Yeah.
So you can actually go to, when they say the dark web, that's a sub-part component of the www, World Wide Web.
Yeah, that's right.
January 4th, Twitter had a data breach. Twitter's user data was continuously bought and sold on the dark web. I don't know how you do this. During 2022, and it seems 2023, it's not going to be any different. According to recent reports, a bank of email addresses belonging to around 200 million. Wow, that's a lot of people. Twitter users is being sold on the dark web right now for as little as $2. Even though the flaw that led to this leak was fixed in January of 2022, data is still being leaked by various threat actors. I guess you call them bad actors.
Yeah.
So let's just talk about Twitter. How does somebody? I mean, didn't Elon Musk and of course the predecessor, they had thousands of employees. Is that their job to protect this kind of data? I mean,
their job is to be collecting that data in the first place and throw up ads based on all the data they have on different people. So that's a gold mine for attackers. They're going to do whatever they can. And that, even if there's a security measure in place that fixes a current type of threat, these bad actors, these threat actors are going to find out a way to get past that eventually. It's just an ongoing cycle of fixing this gap. The attackers figure out how to get around that, then fixing. And that could be an example of these attackers being in the environment for some time without being detected, continuously grabbing that data so they can continue to sell it online.
We look at January 18th. We're just looking at this chronology. This is what's in the news. MailChimp. Of course, we use MailChimp. They had a breach. Data breach at MailChimp just 6 months after its previous one. MailChimp claims that a bad actor, was able to gain access to its system through a social engineering attack and was able to access data attached to 133 MailChimp, data accounts. It's a bad sign for the company, as the attack method is startling similar to last year's breach, casting serious doubts on its security protocol. So let's unpack this one, Adam. What does that mean?
Yeah, that's interesting because unlike Chick-fil-A, we just had the Twitter example, now MailChimp. These are organizations that work with data. MailChimp is all about email lists. So you're going to have accounts within MailChimp that have hundreds of thousands of email contact lists. And that's exactly what these threat actors want. So that's why MailChimp is going to be targeted over and over. And even if they think they fix it, these attackers are going to try whatever they can to continue to do it.
Okay, so they hack in. They find out my information. I don't know what information I have on MailChimp, but what is it? A username, password?
Could be
maybe a credit card?
Credit card's a good example. Yeah, address. Yeah.
And so what they really want to do is they want to sell my information on the dark web to somebody else. So basically they say, hey, I want to hack some account, and this guy, Russ Kendzior, we got some info on him. Can I buy his username and password for some other account? Is that kind of what they do? They piece together. And so the attack is kind of a choreographed event. It's not random. Right. It's not like, oh, we just randomly selected your data. We want to target you, and then we go out and we look for, on the dark web, pieces of the puzzle that we can put together that we can then attack you personally, your accounts, That's and maybe a ransomware, so we can go and hijack your stuff. Is that kind of how it works?
Yeah, that's right. And sometimes maybe if there's a random element of, well, we'll just see if we can hack in and grab all this. After that, it is choreographed. They're like, okay, we have all these usernames and passwords. Let's use a script to use those against all these various different sites. We'll see what hits. Then we'll go to the next level. Now that we're in there, what can we do in this system with this username?
So are these so-called bad actors working in tandem? Is this are these like banks and banks of people? It's not one guy sitting in his mother's basement doing this. It's
a mix of things, actually. Sometimes it is one genius kid that then gets hired by the government to help hack. But it can be actually organizations. A lot of times they're overseas that are kind of immune maybe to where they are. To certain laws that allow them to.
Yeah, because you always hear there's a group of Russians or Chinese hackers. It seems like, at least what we're being led to believe, is this is like a choreographed industry. So China would hire a bunch of people, hundreds, possibly thousands, who work for the Chinese government, CCP, and their job is to hack into United States or whatever countries, accounts, servers. That side of it. So is it like a professional business?
Yeah, that's right. There's some where it is a professional business, and I don't know how much of that is state sponsored. And at the same time, the news does tell us about Russian or Chinese hackers. There's probably just as many American hackers, probably state sponsored in some way, potentially.
Great.
Yeah,
makes me feel great. Even more confidence, but even less confidence in my government.
Well, you know what? It's weird because it's scary, but at the same time, it's like in order to have a step up or a leg up in that hacking game, any entity is going to have to do whatever they can. That means fulfilling those actions, doing those security attacks in order to get that data.
So, okay, is this like cyber warfare?
Yeah, that's exactly.
Literally, they can do major damage to our economy.
That's right. Like the pipeline, the oil pipeline. I don't know if you remember that. It could have been a couple years ago. That's a different type of hack. That's where you bring systems down on purpose to impact an economy. Not getting data or selling data, but impacting an economy. And that's how you can impact money that way.
I mean, that seems like this is some serious stuff. But do we have people like yourself trained to prevent this sort of thing, to block it, to counterattack? I mean, how does this work? It's cyber warfare, man.
That's a good question. I would say you cannot really be trained to block it. You could be trained to find it and hunt it down because there's always going to be brand new methods that are used. It's almost like the best thing an organization can do is prepare. Constantly do training for your employees, constantly be up to date on the latest actions you can do to hunt down these threats because there's going to be a new technology used at any time. Yeah.
It's probably like a 16-year-old kid.
Yeah.
PayPal, same problem.
Yep.
They got hacked. Unauthorized parties. Interesting, the terminology, the language they use. Hackers, okay, were able to access PayPal customer accounts using stolen login credentials. So that's kind of the scenario that you've outlined where they find a database and they go through and parse the people out and they say, oh, well, we have that guy's PayPal information, so let's use his login to go backstream or upstream into PayPal and do mischief there.
Yeah.
I don't know where this stuff ends. I mean, in March of this year, the House of Representatives, the U.S. House, had a data breach. Washington, D.C. based healthcare provider that handles sensitive data belonging to a number of federal legislators and their families may have affected up to 170,000 people. The data has been put up for sale online, as usual. And although the FBI is thought to have already purchased it as part of their investigation. Now, what does that mean? Is it?
Yeah, that's a good point. There's sometimes where governments or even corporations will buy that data to see if it matches with anything they have, so then they can warn their customers, hey, we found your password on the dark web. You need to go ahead and change your password.
Well, that seems like too little too late.
Yeah.
We looked down this list, T-Mobile, Pizza Hut, Kentucky Fried Chicken. Here's one that's really scary is ChatGPT.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the AI, right? That's
right. And the AI is basically tons and tons and tons of data in order to even form answers. So there's going to be so much data that could be there.
I mean, so let's kind of play this out. March 24th, ChatGPT data. Bug found in ChatGPT's open source library caused the chatbot to leak personal data of customers. Oops, which included credit card information, titles of some chats that were initiated in the hours before. ChatGPT, went online or offline in this case. OpenAI said after the incident. So it's possible for some users to see another active user's first and last name, email address, payment address, last four digits. We just go on and on and on. I mean, long story short, and this is probably the scariest of them all because as AI becomes more and more expansive in our everyday lives, and I don't think you can put that genie back in the bottle. If one, artificial intelligence server is talking to another one and they're passing information that, whether it's true or not, can really do a massive amount of harm. Because I would assume the hackers don't even need to be
right.
They can be bots, right? AI could be the hacker.
That's true. The hackers could be programming the bots to do exponentially numbers of multitude of the attacks that they don't have to do.
I mean, where does this end?
Yeah, it doesn't.
I mean, where does all this come to an end? I mean, how do we, break the breach? And then just when you look the other way, American Airlines hackers got into their database, stole personal information related to thousands of their pilots. And that applied to roles at American Airlines and Southwest Airlines. Rather than being taken directly from either airline, the information was extracted from a database maintained by a recruiting company. Now, that's pretty clever. So about 8,000 pilots are thought to have been affected, including 2,200 represented by the Allied Pilots Association, UPS Canada, Reddit. I mean, we kind of go through this list. It becomes very frustrating. So we have these types of accounts, or attacks, I should say. So we have the malware attack. So I guess we can just kind of go through the laundry list of fear and pain that we all have to be worried about. So let's start out with malware. I mean, malware is probably one of the most popular.
Yeah, it's probably been the longest lasting that I've heard of. It's really having something installed on your system. It's some sort of code that could be triggered by clicking on a link, or comes with a program you download, or could be a USB device you get that you plug in, and then there's malware on it. This can then grab data, talk to a server, send it over.
I mean, I get those. I guess we all get those emails. Hey, please confirm that your username is whatever, and you kind of look closely, and the email is coming from Uzbekistan. Folks in Uzbekistan really don't care about my login information for my Petco account. Why would they care? But you see this type of thing routinely. It's very common. We have the denial of service attacks. Boy, that one seems to be more and more popular.
Yep.
I've seen those where if you don't click here, the one I get all the time actually is one that says, if you don't click here, your emails are no longer going to go through. Your email account will be shut off, or that we've modified the email, your emails.
And sometimes with the denial of service, it's also it was almost like the pipeline idea I was talking about earlier, where it's attacking a certain organization or a service to just get it to not work, to get it to shut down.
Yeah. Well, I've seen that one. We also have phishing with an F or P.
Yeah.
Phishing and spoofing. Why don't you walk us through what phishing and spoofing is? I mean, what's the difference between what does that mean?
I like the terminology they use because it will kind of help you understand it. With phishing, it is you're phishing for information that then you can use to get around systems.
Well, why do they use a P? I mean, why not say phishing with an F? Why
because
is PF?
It's cool. It's like cyber, I guess.
So the hacker probably branded the name
exactly
phishing. So when you say phishing, give us an example of how would I know that what the attack is phishing? Do I know that?
It could be you get a text message that says, "Hey, this is so and so. Can you give me the information for this?" Pretending to be someone.
I've seen that on LinkedIn.
Yeah,
people say, "Hey, I want to connect to your LinkedIn account," and they kind of make it sound like they're in your business, you're in your industry. don't know them. In fact, I had a friend that called me not that long ago and said, hey, somebody that was in your network, I added to my network. Well, they're not even a real person. And I said, I added them to my network? I didn't know that. My LinkedIn account? And they're like, yeah, I mean, they connected through you and they found me. Yeah. Is that phishing where they kind of go through the...
Yeah, and you know what? That also gets into the spoofing aspect of it, because sometimes phishing and spoofing work hand in hand, because the spoofing aspect is the trick. It's where you might get a phishing attempt of maybe Bank of America getting an email saying, hey, you need to log into your account. But if you were to hover over the link, maybe down at the bottom, you see, oh, that doesn't go to Bank of America. That goes to some random URL I haven't heard of. Yeah. And so that's that spoofing part. The phishing is to try to get the information.
It's all Putin.
Yeah. And the spoofing is to trick you to get the information.
All right. So we got phishing, spoofing. We then have identity-based attacks. What's an identity-based attack?
So identities are a really big deal online. This is your username and password. So any systems that have username and passwords, you would also want them to have something we'll talk about later called MFA, multi-factor authentication, or two-factor authentication. A lot of times if that's not there, you can brute force into an identity of any type of account to get in. Yeah.
This sounds like there's a lot of creative hackers out there who are very successful.
Yeah.
Take it they make a lot of money doing this?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Supply chain attacks. What's a supply chain attack?
Yeah, that's another one kind of similar to that denial of service attack, because with the supply chain, you're targeting an aspect of a supply chain of whatever industry it could possibly be, but that has long-lasting effects.
So is that a business-to-business type thing?
Yeah.
They're trying to go after a business?
You're exactly right, yeah. That's true. Usually those are, it's not, something where they need data or information to sell, but they're maybe trying to do some espionage.
Last one is insider threats.
Yeah.
Give me an example of that.
That could be someone that is hating their job and they want to quit and they're mad at the company. So before they leave, maybe they lock down a system or they turn off the multi-factor authentication for one of their admins and then leave. And then that has kind of caused a chain of events where...
I mean, that would strike me as being criminal.
Yeah, it is.
I mean, you basically say, I work for a company, I had access to confidential passwords or user data, and I'm mad, so I'm just going to go ahead and sell that to hackers.
Yeah.
What kind of money are these people making on this stuff?
Oh, man, it could be a lot. It depending on the organization or the type of data or who needs it. If they're just simply selling data on the black market, not as much as if they are doing it for someone specifically, like a bounty or something.
So you're saying people will actually hire insiders?
Yeah, they could. Yep, exactly.
Man.
Yeah.
Boy, you're really getting me worried here. All right, so how cyber safety affects us. Yep. Emails. Obviously, that's what I think most people see. Most people feel the hacking threat via an email.
Spam. We get the spam email all the time.
You get that crap. And we all have the spam filters. They, I guess, kind of work.
Kind of.
Not real certain how effective the spam filters are, but that I would say that's most people's first identification of a hack is through an email. You have database hacks. What's a database hack?
So this is where we talk about that personal data that gets out there. That's what we're seeing a lot, where if you have your personal information somewhere, a hacker is eventually going to get into whatever organization that is and leak it.
So we've all been exposed to this. This is not new. It would be fair to say that probably a lot of, if not all of our personal information is in a combination, bits and pieces in databases everywhere.
That's right.
And the hackers want to find all those little bits and pieces, put it together, and then use that as a tool, a weapon, to say, give me whatever they want.
Yeah.
And this menu that we're going through is just a menu.
Yeah.
I mean, we've got phone calls.
Yeah.
Cell phone calls.
Yeah,
right?
that could be the phishing. And even if it's landline, it could be where someone's calling and say, hey, this is so-and-so. I totally forgot my password on the system. And then maybe that person has some information or they can trick the person on the other end to get them.
This is Igor. I forgot my password. Can you give me my password? I mean...
Good. Yeah. But that's how it's...
So they use cell phones?
Yeah. So phone calls can, definitely be a way. Yeah.
All right. What's SMS interception?
Yeah.
What does that mean?
That's an important one. So text messages. So if you're ever getting a code in a text message or someone's like, hey, can you text me that Netflix password? You're putting your information at risk because it's easy to intercept text messages.
Now, can people spy on your text messages? Like if I text you, can somebody say, "Hey, I'm kind of listening," in like a party line?
That's exactly it. Yeah.
How do they do that? How do they get away with that? I mean, how does that work?
Yeah, it's towers that could be set up that have sort of a system in place where as that data is being transmitted, it just comes funneling in. The government does use this. This is
Wait a minute. You're saying the government's spying on us?
Well, they're doing it for our safety, but
for our well-being, for our good. But we are monitoring you for our good, for your good.
But that's the thing. I guess once the government has a tactic they can use to, even if they're saying it's for good, any attacker can then use that for their own gain. So it's like a weapon.
No, of course not. They would never do that. The government wouldn't spy on us. They would never use our personal information in any way to create harm.
Yeah,
I would assume, my opinion, take it for its worth, but I would assume that's what government spends most of its time doing right now is spying on its citizens. Call me a conspiracy theorist. They always say conspiracy theorist. Theory. It's a theory. It's all been proven. I mean, what's the theory part? We already know this, right? It comes out all the time.
It does.
And then there's a coordination between government, the media, government, and other third-party, organizations or governments. I mean, everybody's kind of working together to spy on, hack, manipulate, take control over everything we do.
That's right.
Am I paranoid?
No, and what's funny is, and I've learned this myself, is there's a lot of times that adversarial kind of between China or Russia, and a lot of times it just ends up with data because the U.S. doesn't want China to get the U.S. data and then manipulate that to be able to then.
Oh no! They just fly a balloon over our country, right? And we kind of look at it and say, "Hey, look at that! It's going over our country."
Yeah.
I presume that was to collect sensitive data or data that they don't have.
Who knows? Did we ever hear a follow-up on that?
No, never got the update from the balloon that flew over the country that took them a week to figure out what to do. But which almost implies that this was coordinated with our government, meaning, they knew it was coming and, we don't want to, get in the way of the collection of data that this balloon was collecting with our understanding. I mean, obviously, if there was a threat in any way, wouldn't we have shot it down earlier and done something about it? I mean, it seems like we didn't even do anything about it. We didn't even tell China, stop it. We're going to go ahead and stop buying your merchandise. They just and then they even say, well, hey, why'd you shoot down our spy satellite? Like they got mad at us for taking down their spy satellite. But last two we kind of covered ransomware and social engineering. Are you saying that's through social media?
Yeah, that could be a part of it, and that's why you got to be careful when you are using social media. You're online. People being connected, talking, sharing information. You could tell someone, "Oh, I'm going on a trip," or "I'm going here," or "I just signed up for this account." You can give away enough information where if someone wanted to.
When you say you give, so if I'm having a chat with you. On
it could be Twitter, posting on Twitter. Yeah, Instagram, exactly.
And somebody says, "Oh, that was a really cool picture you showed of somebody falling or getting hurt." So I'm vulnerable. Mm-hmm. It's like, all right, you're open to getting hacked. On social media.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you collect enough information from someone because of how social media works. That can be used. I mean, it's interesting how all these elements actually work together. Like, even though there's these separate categories, they're all used in conjunction for the same type of thing.
This seems really hard to stop.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I mean, you did give us, and we're going to cover them now, some preventative measures.
Yeah.
All right, so let's kind of walk us through this. Use multi-factor authentication, which a lot of software companies are now asking.
That's right.
In other words, we'll text you a 4-digit code.
Yeah, exactly. And if there's the option to do it, texting it is not the best way to do it, although, again, these companies are just starting. But there are authentication apps. Google Authenticator.
You're losing me. All right. Now I have an authentication that says we'll text you a 4-digit number.
Yeah.
I don't have a choice. They're saying, do you want that or not? And I'm like, well, yeah, I'm taking advantage of it. But what else? I mean,
it's a good thing you brought that up because I think that has to do with the level of security. That is a lower risk than if you didn't have MFA. But it's a higher risk than using an authenticator app, which will then ask you to type in what number do you see or use your thumbprint.
I mean, growing up, we just worried about, sitting sitting on toilet seats. That was the big threat. Like, you're going to get, warts or something if you touch a toad. Now it's this, what level of multi-factor authentication do you want? And you go on to talk about never use the same password across accounts. Now, you mean never have the same password?
Yeah, and that's why that whole thing about passwords on the dark web is a big deal, because that's the thing. They buy these username or passwords. Usually it's an email and a password. And it could be that people are using that same email and password on a bunch of accounts. So then they just use a script and use it against all these other accounts.
What about people that, like Hillary Clinton, that said, her password was password?
Oh, yeah.
Username, Hillary.
Yeah.
Password was password.
And that's another thing. So a lot of times companies will have certain requirements you need to meet for your password, like to have a character, lowercase, 27 characters. A bunch of things like that.
I do that. I have a pretty complex lowercase, they want like 8 to 12 characters. Is that even enough anymore? 8 to 12 characters?
You know what? No, and it's going to change. In fact, what you're going to start seeing soon is no passwords. Yeah, that's going to be the new thing.
So like a retina scan or?
It's probably going to be biometric, so like a thumbprint. It's going to be, because cell phones are so a part of our lives now, it's going to be using a multi-factor app on a phone to kind of confirm. So there's going to be, it's.
Yeah, I saw where, I forgot, it was like Whole Foods or one of the grocery store chains now somehow has a system for paying for food, where instead of having to use a credit card, you can wave your palm of your hand.
Right.
You seen this thing?
Yeah.
You wave your palm, and I guess it scans your palm, and that'll connect your payment system to their system. So I guess a hacker would have to have my palm.
Yeah, they would just knock you out, carry you over their shoulder, walk to the store, be like, "Oh, don't mind him. He had too many drinks."
Yeah, it's kind of like one of those Mission Impossible episodes where they have to cut the guy's finger off to put it on the wall scanner to get in.
Yeah, that's true.
And so I guess it's a battle.
Yeah,
you got the hackers on one side. It's kind of like it's kind of like an NFL football game.
Exactly. Yeah.
You got the good guys and the not so good guys. So you're saying scrutinize unexpected emails. When you say unexpected emails, you mean emails from people you're not?
Yeah, it could be some company, organization, someone you've never heard of before, and they're like, "Hey, I just happened to come across your email, but I have $10,000 I need to store somewhere."
Yeah, I've seen that one. Hey, I'm from Uganda, and I'm in jail, and I need $100, and they want to make it sound like they know you.
Yeah,
like, hi, this is your wife. I'm in Uganda. You didn't know? You forgot. I was in Uganda this week, and can you wire me $10,000? I'm like, yeah. As my wife's sitting across the table from me. Here's another good one. This is one that I find a hard time how many people fall for this one.
Yeah.
Do not give personal information. You read about it where the senior citizen, grandma's at home and the phone rings and she's just so excited to talk to somebody. And it's somebody saying, "Hey, Marge, remember me? I was your student when you were teaching 27 years ago, and can you give me your username and password?" Or they want to sell them a product, right? Isn't that what it is? They're basically saying, "Hey, give me your confidential information, and I'll sell you. I'll send you money." Right? Isn't that kind of how it works? It's always like a backwards deal.
It's the giving out the information. That is like the ultimate, because you're not working against a computer. We're against a person, and you can trick them and get whatever type of information you need, whether that is the username and password, or maybe a date of birth or some other type of information.
It's like they're like, "Hey, I'm with the they're trying to masquerade. I'm with the police association, the state police association. We're trying to raise money to stop bad guys from doing bad things. And can we count on your $100 donation this year, Stella?"
Yeah.
Oh, sure. I love the police. Well, all we need is your credit card information. Am I right? Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah. But there's another interesting one is too, you might hear or seen lately, because it's newer initiatives done by these organizations where they're like, we will never ask for your username or password. That's another thing, because they know that a customer service rep in the past might have done that to help out. But nowadays it's like, no, that's too easy for an attacker to do that to someone. So it will be some other bits of information, which is where then that social engineering comes in. Because if an attacker can get that other bit of information, they can then get past.
The one that really scares me is the hi, I'm with Microsoft, and we want to get access to your screen.
Yeah, that's right.
Can you give us? We're going to send you a link to complete, and then we can get control of your screen.
Or you've got a virus. You need to do the screen share.
And our technician wants to go ahead and send, can you give us permission to have access to your screen? And I've actually done that. I mean, in places where I've had a problem. And the software, and I, of course, call them.
Yeah.
So I know it's not a hacker.
Yeah.
But I'm sitting there going, we have the technology now where someone could literally just go in and you see the cursor moving around on the screen.
Yeah, that's right. Yes,
they're remotely controlling my machine. And I'm wondering, is that possible for someone just to hack that?
Yeah, it definitely.
Where I don't even have to give them permission to get into my system. They just hack it?
Yeah, depending on the type of information they have from you, the type of data. It could be like a link you click on that runs a script and then gives the permission without you realizing that's what the link was for.
This is Mission Impossible stuff. So
exactly.
Let's talk about finally some solutions, or at least what I think most people understand as solutions. Norton, you got your PC-Matic.
Yep.
I don't read the Hacker News, but there's a whole network of information out there about people who do.
Yeah.
So let's kind of walk through this Norton antivirus, which if you have a PC, a Microsoft PC, you get reminders like every 11 minutes.
Yeah, right.
We now have the premium, the ultra premium. I'm a Mac user, so I don't use Norton. But you got Norton, PC-Matic. I guess those are the two bigger guys.
Yeah. In fact, I think even Apple has a degree on their machines for security. Microsoft as well. Because that's the thing. A lot of times when you see an update come out for something, which we've all come across that, and we're like, an update. A lot of times it's really just because it's another security measure they're blocking. That's really what it is. They just know this is a hole that hackers have figured out. Here's an update.
Yeah, I get a lot of those.
Yeah.
Apple will have an update automatic for your cell phone, PC, and they'll say, and then you look at the release notes and it's like, we were just fixing minor fixes.
Yeah, exactly. And
minor fixes.
It's like, what is it?
Those are hacks, aren't they?
Yeah.
That's what they're trying to say to me. Well, we knew there's these vulnerabilities.
That's right.
Maybe you didn't get hacked yet, but we know they're out there. But they like to play it as
not a big deal.
Just kind of sweeping the floor, kind of cleaning it up.
But that's
really
the thing.
Normal.
Because the communications is not there, sometimes people are like, I don't want to have to keep updating. Sometimes people are scared, if I update, it's going to erase everything. And so then you have – it's because of that lack of communication, you have people that are exposed then.
Right. And there are people like the Geek Squad that'll come out and clean your computer out of – they go in and go into your system files and they find all these little tags that are remnants of – I guess is that worthy to do? I mean, should people be going out and having someone come out and clean up their computer?
I would say if you don't know what to look for, you should ask your nephew or ask around, ask someone, hey, do you have? Because I think a lot of younger people understand that stuff a lot more easily because there's all these measures put in place for everything. But you just never know. You could be simply just searching for something online.
So I'd be afraid that the guy would come out that's going to clean my computer and say, can I have your username and password?
Oh, yeah. There you go.
And they're actually –
insider threat.
They're the insiders saying, I work for – I'm not accusing anybody.
Right. Exactly.
But how do you know who to trust?
Exactly. You don't. You just got to play it safe. I think there's a little bit of personal responsibility there of understanding in this cyber age how to protect yourself when you're online. I think that's the bottom line.
Well, we're going to announce today that you are now going to have a channel on Cyber Safety News.
That's right.
So Adam will be the host of Cyber Safety News, which will be part of Safety News and part of the network. And so people that have a desire or interest to learn more, I'm really more fascinated not only by how creative these people are, but this endless kind of tug of war.
That's right.
Tug of war. Who's
That's what it is.
You got to constantly be fighting the bad guys, the bad actors with solutions, and that there's really no simple fix. Things like PC-Matic and Norton. Do you recommend people use those?
Yeah, I do. And a lot of times too, again, search the internet to get an idea depending on what system you use, what would be best. I think Reddit's always a good source of what other people are saying. But yeah, you don't want to be tricked about something like, oh no, this is the best.
It seems so easy to be tricked. Even professionals can be tricked.
Yeah,
you know, people who do this for a living can be tricked. And you just are always waiting for my fear, and it's happened many years ago, where you go to put your computer on and it won't start.
Oh yeah,
it's like there's no hack, there's nobody asking you for anything, but it's like, oh yeah, you got a virus, and the virus, when you restart your computer, activates, and you get this black screen. I guess that's just mischievous, right?
Yeah,
we just want to make your life miserable. They're not asking for anything. There's no, like in the old days where they had the movies that the screen would come out with a happy face and laugh like the clown. Ha 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 ha. But it seems to be far more sophisticated because everything we do now is right. You reserve cars and airplane traffic, airline travel, and everything you do. I mean, Amazon. I assume companies like that, are they protecting my data?
They're doing their best, and that's all they can do. As long as they're keep training going for their employees, continue to strengthen their IT security, that's the best they can do. I think it's inevitable that a hack is going to happen. It's going to be something that no one's expecting.
Well, all right, last question. So if a chat bot, because AI is here, goes out and finds this stuff, and they say, hey, this would be really cool. We're going to give Russ Kendzior every blood type, you name it. What repercussions legally do people have to protect themselves? So if this is people start publishing this where it's available for the specific intent of making money off of selling my data. I mean, maybe I've already answered my question, because isn't that what all the social media sites do? Isn't that what Twitter did?
Yeah, you're basically...
They sell my data. Yeah. They take my information. There's a little,
terms of service
that nobody reads. That's an extremely fine print. That's in legal jabber.
Yep.
And everyone's like, well, I just want to get out there and, send pictures of, my kids to the family. And I didn't realize that I literally sold my soul to them. And then they sell that. I mean, that's the reality, isn't it? They're part of the problem.
They are a part of the problem, exactly. And that's why there are regulations that have been put in place. Some states are stronger than others, like California, but data regulations that are important and companies need to meet.
Because in Europe, you can't take a picture of somebody and put it out there without their permission. I mean, they're really cracked down on privacy. Where my son, who works for a major company that does that, said, well, Dad, your privacy is gone, bro. You gave it up years ago. You don't even realize that it's gone, which, is nice to hear, that there's nothing I can do, that, resistance is futile, to go back to Star Trek.
Right.
So are we doomed?
Are we doomed? It seems like it. It really does seem like it. But luckily, like in my field, what I'm working on, I can see that we're constantly trying to come up with ways to respond. It's just be able to react and respond accordingly. So,
right. Last piece of advice. What do we tell folks? Don't despair. Hope is here.
And be responsible. Vigilant. Be responsible with your data at the end of the day. Yeah. Where you're putting it, where you're saving it, where you're sending it. If you don't need to sign up for something or post about everything you're doing, don't do it. Yeah.
Well, that's good advice. And I think smart people would take that advice, but it would seem that a lot of people are easily tricked.
Yeah, that's what it is.
Check this box and, All right, Adam Blue, look for the show, Cyber Safety News.
That's right.
Love that title.
Yeah, me too.
So with that, Adam, welcome to the family, the first unique channel within a channel, and we'll be looking forward to your products that are coming out. So with that, this is Russ Kendzior, thanking you again for watching Safety News, and we will be back next week with another episode, and we're going to continue to cover the stories that the mainstream media refuses to carry, and so the deep dive on safety. So with that, thanks again, Adam, for being here.
Yep.
And we will see you next week. Take care.